All right. First rule of the channel, we not talk about this channel. Second rule of the channel, this is not legal advice. So this is going to be how the sausage was made for week 11 of fantasy football for you unique individuals out there that enjoy listening to me do this on your Sunday nights and your Mondays. So anyway, right now, going into the Monday night game, fantasy MVP for week 11 is going to be Taysom Hill. This is going to be one of those things where we can kind of predict some of this stuff, even though we can't will it into existence sometimes. Right here. Where there he is, 38 and a half points. And again, this is going to be, your scoring settings and my scoring settings are going to be a little bit different, but 1 for 2 for 18 and an interception in the passing game, 7 for 138, 3 touchdowns. One of those was a 75-yarder. And then, 8 receptions on 10 targets for 50 and another fumble lost in this game. And again, there just isn't anybody for the Saints to really produce offense with not named Alvin Kamara and not named Taysom Hill. So like, that's why it's predictable. Sometimes they're going to break your heart. Things aren't going to work out the way that they're supposed to. And there's other times where it's like, well, that's just how the story is told. That's why the sausage is made. And we can kind of guess this stuff. So if he burned you last week, hopefully you roll him out again in your lineup and you hit that big, massive spike week this week. Some of the other guys that are out there, you're looking at Jared Goff, 400 yards passing, 4 touchdowns going up against the Jags. 3 passing touchdowns, 356 for Joe Burrow. 4 passing touchdowns for Bo Nix right now. That's out there. We're talking about Anthony Richardson probably on if not, maybe even chasing the dragon, if not after waivers going on out there. And then some of the other guys are out there chasing the Detroit offense is probably going to be a good idea this year. And then Brees does finally come home if you spent on him. And then some of the other guys, like nobody really interesting popping up out there other than tight end Jonnu Smith out there. 6 for 8, 101 and 2 touchdowns. One of these, and again, you don't care if you rolled out Jonnu Smith, how the sausage is made. You do probably care if he was rolled out against you and he has this spike week. One of these was a 57-yarder late in garbage time that he was able to get home on. So anyway, let's start breaking some of this stuff down. Starting off with the Green Bay Bears game. This is ugly, ugly game. Bears did drive into field goal range on the last play of the game. It got blocked. That's how the game went. In general, trying to predict how this game was going to go with how unpredictable the Bears offense has been with the change at offensive coordinator. And then the other thing to be looking at is the Bears do still have a pretty good defense, and it did look like they were going to pull this out, and then it got blocked, and that's just how it goes in general. Josh Jacobs falls in the end zone. So did Jordan Love. Didn't see that Jordan Love fell in the end zone. Jordan Love threw a touchdown pass and an interception on 13 for 17, 261. Didn't see that this low of pass attempts going on in the game. Christian Watson, 4 for 150 on his 4 targets. Josh Jacobs, 5 targets, 4 for 58. Jaden Reed does fall in the end zone on his 2 targets, 2 for 23 in that one. When it comes down to the Bears, Caleb Williams, 23 of 31, 231. I haven't watched any of the tape on the game yet. DeAndre Swift falls in the end zone on his 14 carries for 71 yards. Caleb Williams, 9 for 70. And this is where it's going to get a little interesting. I don't know how predictable this is going to be. Green Bay does not have a bad defense. I don't know if you can necessarily go as far as say that Green Bay has got like a good defense, and then who knows what's going to go on with the Bears. But 9 for 70. Roshan does fall in the end zone. Rome, 6 for 65 on his 10 targets, and then 7 for 7 for 62 for DJ Moore. Not really too much other interesting stuff going on in this game when it comes down to chasing all this stuff. Let's see who's up next. Already talked about the Commanders and the Eagles, if you didn't know that. Did see on Twitter with this one that Jaden Daniels has not really, the offense has not been as aggressive vertically down the field since the rib injury. So if you're wondering about that, 26 to 18. And this was not necessarily as close. It was mostly Commanders in the first half. It was 7-3. They probably should put a couple more points on the board in the first half. And then Saquon Barkley just ices the game in the fourth quarter. If you're wondering about that one, his 2 touchdowns, I think he's right now going to be up there, fourth overall for fantasy this week going to the Monday night game. 26 for 142 or 146, 2 touchdowns, and 2 for 3 for 52 also in that game. And then did see that Scary Terry was pretty much like non-existent. I'll bring up the box score so we can actually talk about some of this stuff. Did see that like Jalen Hurts like still stays on target to finish with like 18 rushing touchdowns. Jaden Daniels just throw one to Zach Ertz late and gets a 2-point conversion if you're rolling out there. There's Scary Terry. 2 targets, 1 for 10 in this game to go along with that. And then Brian Robinson falls in the end zone. Then other interesting things when it comes to the Eagles, AJ Brown, 8 targets, 5 for 65 in this game. And then Dallas Goedert, 5 for 61. That's about all of that. Now moving on to, let's see, the Jaguars and the Lions, and I would almost go as far as to say that like I didn't watch any of the highlights yet, so that that'll be something I do like tomorrow and Tuesday. But like this game, from what I could see of the ticker, was not as close as 52-6. Believe that or not. Mac Jones 17 for 29, no touchdowns, 1 interception, 138 yards passing. Travis Etienne, like who cares? The only kind of interesting thing in this one was Brian Thomas Jr. 7 targets, 5 for 82. He had another one that was overturned late in the game. I did roll him out in one of my leagues and went, where did my points magically disappear to? If you're wondering about that. And then for the Lions, you can see like Hendon Hooker got in the game. That's how good how well they played against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jared Goff 24 of 29, 4 touchdowns. David Montgomery falls in the end zone twice on 15 carries. Jahmyr Gibbs falls in the end zone once on 11. You got Sione Vaki was in the game. I also saw that Craig Reynolds was in the game. Those are like the running back 3 and running back 4, if you're wondering about that. The Sun God, 11 for 11 for 161 and 2 touchdowns. Jamison Williams, 4 for 124. This is all with Sam Laporta out. And then I did talk about this a little bit, like Brock Wright, if you're going to be chasing that, the opportunity he's going to fall in the end zone. He does fall in the end zone on a 5-yard touchdown pass also in this one. All right, Vikings and Titans. This was at one point, I think, closer. I'm going to bring this up than the score might indicate. Will Levis did play better at one point in the game. I did see that he was actually had a pretty good completion percentage into about the fourth quarter, and then it doesn't look like he could hit the broadside of the barn after that. But it was a little bit closer than the score would indicate. Right here, 16-10 in the third quarter with 7 minutes left to go, and then Cam Akers catches a touchdown pass, 23-10, and then a 1 field goal in the fourth quarter. So it was not necessarily a blowout overall in the game, if you're wondering about all that stuff. Sam Darnold throws two touchdown passes. Akers and Aaron Jones does look like it's turning into a little bit of running back by committee there. 15 carries to 10 carries. Justin Jefferson does Justin Jefferson things, 8 for 6 for 81. Jordan Addison catches a touchdown pass. The other interesting thing is TJ Hawkinson, after last week, down to 3 targets, 2 receptions, 13 yards. There's Cam Akers with that touchdown catch in this one. Josh Oliver remains somewhat fantasy relevant in this one. And then there's Will Levis. The two things with Will Levis, like from a fantasy perspective, again, not a real football channel. 17 for 31, 295, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 7 carries. Like there's a possibility that you're going to get some type of top 10 fantasy finish, like league winner type finish for Will Levis. He is playing better. I just don't know if necessarily I would necessarily trust that. Tajay Spears, 9 carries, doesn't do anything. Or not. Tajay Spears did 3 carries. Tony Pollard does 9 carries, doesn't do anything. Nick Westbrook-Akine, 6 targets, 2 for 117 touchdown. Did talk about this, long at 98. If he's on the field that much, he's going to be fantasy relevant. And then Calvin Ridley, I think he had a couple catches called back. One of them might have been a touchdown catch. 6 for 4 for 58 also in this game. That's just for me looking at the ticker during my day. Let's see, Raiders and Dolphins. This one was another one that was actually like somewhat closer than the score would indicate. Gardner Minshew gets them to within 24-19 in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes and 23 seconds left to go. And this is where I talk about like Joe Smith, 57-yard touchdown pass with 3:19, and then Jason Sanders gets a 46-yarder late with 155. And then that's how it ends up being like 34-19. Otherwise, like sort of even game flow. I think right here, Tyreek Hill's 8-yard touchdown catch makes it 17-6, and then the Raiders are able to somewhat claw back into the game with 4 minutes left to go. Devin Achane 2-yard touchdown catch. So it does generally look like in the first half it was relatively even. Dolphins pull away in the second half. And then the score would indicate that it was a little bit more of a blowout than it actually was. Overall, Gardner Minshew, 2 touchdown passes, 30 for 43, 282, and an interception. Who cares about the running game when it comes to the Raiders? Brock Bowers, 16 for 13, 126, and a touchdown. And that's the only guy to really care about when it comes down to it. Tua, 28 of 36, 3 touchdown catches. Devin Achane, 17 for 73 and a touchdown. Malik Washington, 1 for 17. Jalen Wright, 5 for 4. Raheem Mostert, 3 for -2. So it does generally look like Jalen Wright is going to maintain the breather back, and then Raheem Mostert may still be the third down back when it comes down to it. Don't see him in the passing game. And then 8 targets for Tyreek Hill and Jonnu Smith. Jalen Waddle, 3 targets. A-Chain, 4 targets, 4 for 32. And then Tyreek Hill, 8 for 7 for 61, and gets that touchdown catch. On top of that, Malik Washington, 3 for 3 for 11. That's mostly a dynasty thing that I like to be paying attention to for the future. Rams and Patriots, and this was another one, I'm bringing this one back up, that ended up being a little bit closer than the score would indicate. And you could see right about here, 28-13 in the third quarter. And then Drake May actually gave him a chance, I think, to win the game late and threw an interception. I can bring this up from what I remember looking at. Yeah, interception. So Drake May and the Patriots did have the football late in the game. There was an interception. So there was a possibility that you could get a miracle when it came down to the game. Matt Stafford, 4 touchdowns. Didn't see that he had that. 18 for 27, 295. Kyron Williams, 15 for 86. Blake Corum, I mean, eating into him a little bit, like 5 for 21. I think that's probably like career high right now. Puka, 9 targets. Cooper Kupp, 10 targets. Cooper Kupp, 2 touchdowns to Puka's 123 receiving. And then everything else doesn't matter. And then Colby Parkinson falls in the end zone on 1 target for 19. Don't really see. I'm kind of interested on what the tight ends look like after Davis had the uptick last week. And then when it comes to New England, 2 touchdown passes, 1 interception for Drake May, 30 of 40, 282. Ramondre, 20 carries. Nobody scores any rushing touchdowns. Drake May, 3 for 27 to go along with that. Kendrick Bourne, last week, Kendrick Bourne, it was a healthy scratch. 5 for 70 and a touchdown. Maybe. I'll have to look at that. And then Hunter Henry, 9 for 6 for 63. Pop Douglas, 7 for 5 for 59. Outside of Kendrick Bourne. Then the other thing is Keyshawn Butte would have been like the dart throw in this game. 6 targets, 4 for 33. I'm assuming offensive tackle Vadarian Lowe scores a touchdown pass. Like that must have been like tackle eligible. I'm just gonna guess. Jaheim Bell. Finally, there's a target in this one. This is a dynasty thing. If you're wondering why that's a little interesting to me. Athletic tight end out of Florida State. Let's see. Browns and Saints, and this is the game, like the blowout that was going on. It was not necessarily close. I guess it was. The ticker from what I saw of the ticker, I didn't think this was a close game. 14-14. Going in the fourth quarter, and then the Saints score 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and pull away. So it was a closer game. I thought this was a blowout all the way through until I looked at the box score right now. If you're wondering about why I'm a little surprised at that. And then the other thing, I am going to be rolling out Cedric Tillman next week for the Browns, so I kind of was paying attention to this. So Jerry Jeudy, 11 for 6 for 142 and a touchdown. I think the long was the 89-yarder for the touchdown. If I'm going to bring this one back up. 89-yarder. MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling scores on a 71-yarder also in this game. Again, like talking about like the telling the story about how guys get there. In this case with the Saints, there isn't a lot of guys to throw the football to. So it was either going to be, or I shouldn't say throw the football to. There are a lot of vacated opportunities. There aren't a lot of receivers. So Marquez Valdez-Scantling, MVS, he can do it every single week. Now I don't trust him because I've rolled him out there and got like goose eggs because he can drop the football. But this is one of those things where it's like, well, can I predict this ahead of time? Yes. This is one of those guys like, if you do roll them out there, like you can predict those spike weeks as opposed to rolling out some of those other like wide receiver 3s and not being able to guess like, is it going to happen this week? You can kind of guess like there just isn't anybody else for the Saints to go to. That's why you can guess on your MVSs and your Taysom Hill. Elijah Moore, 30-yard touchdown pass. And then there's the 89-yarder when it goes to Jerry Jeudy in this one. So again, like rolling out any of these Browns wide receivers rest of the season is probably going to be a very good idea. It's just going to be like very difficult to kind of guess which weeks those guys are going to end up being the guy. 40 for 46, 395, 2 touchdowns for famous Jameis. Nick Chubb, 11 carries for 50 yards. And this one, there's Jerry Jeudy. David Njoku, 9 for 9 for 81. Elijah Moore, 8 for 6 for 66 and a touchdown. There's Cedric Tillman, 8 targets, 3 for 47. I think one of them got called back also, so could have had a little bit better day in this one. And then for the Saints, like, don't really care about Derek Carr, 21 for 27, 248, 2 touchdowns. There's Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, 7 for 138 and 3 touchdowns, long as 75. Alvin Kamara, 16 for 67. That would be probably the biggest thing with Taysom Hill, is that he's going to really knock down what Alvin Kamara could do for you as a potential league winner. 4 for 4 for 22 for Alvin Kamara. And then 10 targets for Taysom Hill, 8 for 50. Again, some of this is predictive. And then there's MVS, 4 targets, 2 for 87 and a touchdown. If you're wondering, and then moving on to Ravens and the Steelers. So in this one, from what I saw, is the Ravens score late, and then Zay Flowers, 16-yard touchdown pass from Lamar Jackson with 1:06 left to go in the game, and then the Steelers were able to stop the 2-point attempt. Lamar Jackson, rushing attempt fails, and that's how your game went overall. Chris Boswell kicks 6 field goals, so hopefully you rolled out your Chris Boswell shares, being able to predict the week on these guys. There he is, 24 points, 1 20-yard field goal, 2 30-yard field goals, 3 50-yard field goals. That's 15 points right there, hopefully in your 5-point 50-yard field goal. I think some leagues will have like 60-yard field goals, they'll count for 6 points. I don't think I'm in any of those leagues. Let's see, bringing this one back up. And then the other stuff with the box score, Isaiah Likely leads the Ravens, and again, we're back to not being able to predict how the outcome is going to shake out with these guys when it comes to like Detroit and the Ravens and their offense. Again, did talk about this with the Steelers in the offseason, that they have a good enough defense to lose the Super Bowl. And you can see that, like, the Ravens, one of the top offenses in the league, and then the Steelers are like, nope, we just need to generate enough offense to stop you, because you're just not going to score. So, like, again, like, defenses, I'm a defensive coach, so I like seeing stuff like that goes on. Lamar Jackson, 16 for 33, 207, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Derrick Henry, 13 for 65 and a touchdown. No Keaton Mitchell in the rushing game. I want to see if he pops up in the receiving game, or I don't see him. Deontay Johnson, 2 targets, no receptions. There's Isaiah Likely, 5 targets. Zay Flowers, 6 targets, 2 for 39, a touchdown. Rashad Bateman, 5 for 2 for 30 in this one. And then when it goes over to Pittsburgh, Najee, 18 for 63. Jalen Warren, 9 for 41. Ooh, Justin Fields, 2 for 17 in this game also. To go along with, like, Russ, 23 for 36, 205 and an interception. George Pickens, 12 targets, 8 for 89. And then the other one, let's see, Big Mike Williams. Don't even see him in the box score. Colts and Jets. This one, I guess I passed over on this one. So this was kind of an odd game. I'll bring up the game cast real quick. So the Jets kick a field goal with 2:41 left to go in the game. And I remember looking at the ticker going, like, even though it's Anthony Richardson, that's too much time to leave on the clock to take a 5-point advantage. Like, you're saying, like, hey, we're going to be able to stop them on defense. And I was like, that's probably not the right play, because it was like a 4th and 2 there, and they kicked the field goal, and then Anthony Richardson drives down, and he falls in the end zone from 4 yards out. 2-point conversion fails, and then Aaron Rodgers, I think, got sacked on the last play of the game. That's basically how it went down. Breece Hall scores from 29 yards in the passing game and 18 yards in the rushing game overall. And then, again, like, not a real channel, but, like, the Jets, there's something wrong, obviously. Don't need to tell you that. 20 for 30, 272 and a touchdown. And again, I'm going to be watching this to see, like, what happened, because if he would have come out and really been inaccurate again, like, nobody would have been surprised. But the fact that, like, this is functional, and this is against the defense that's supposed to be good. And then you get Jonathan Taylor, 24 for 57, and then Anthony Richardson, 10 for 32, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Josh Downs, 5 for 5 for 84 and a touchdown. Alec Pierce, 4 for 3 for 74. Michael Pittman, 8 targets, really inefficient, 5 for 46. Adonai Mitchell, 2 for 1 for 33, and that's about all I care about. When it comes over to the Jets, I already talked about like Breece Hall, 16 for 78 and a touchdown, 7 more targets. This is why I was drafting Breece Hall, is the receiving work. Garrett Wilson, really inefficient, 8 for 4 for 18. And remember, the Colts defense is like hilariously bad. 7 for 6 for 72 for Devontae in this one. Aaron Rodgers, 22 for 29, 184 and 2 touchdowns. And I don't even know, Kenny Yaboya, tight end, scores a receiving touchdown for the Jets like that. So that's another one where I was like, who? I don't even know who that is. Talking about that one. All right. Ravens and Steelers, already talked about them. Falcons and Broncos, and this was just a beatdown from what I could see during the game. The Falcons and Kirk Cousins, I think Kirk Cousins had an interception. He also had a fumble lost in this game. So they kept giving the football back, obviously, to the Broncos. Broncos kept scoring. 4 touchdowns for Bo Nix in this one. Javonte Williams, 9 for 59 touchdowns. So, like, Audric Estime was not relevant. I looked up in this game, and I was like, what's going on? Javonte scores touchdown. Estime, I think at one point was like 1 reception for like -2 yards in this game. Curl Sutton, 7 for 78. Drake London leads the Falcons, 3 for 61. And again, like the Falcons were not necessarily good. I don't think this was close. You're looking at 21-6 at halftime. Marvin Mims scores with 25 seconds left to go in the game or in the half. And then all the scoring. Troy Franklin, 7 yards. Will Lux kicks a 45-yarder, and then Little Jordan Humphrey with 9:07 or 9:03 41-yard touchdown pass from Bo Nix, and that's how the game went when it comes down to that one. I want to look at the box score. I did see that Darnell Mooney got knocked out of this game. Michael Penix came in late. Also saw Jace McClellan was in the game, and he got 8 carries. No Tyler Algier that I can see right now. Ray McLeod, 6 for 6 for 46. Bijan, 4 for 28. Kyle Pitts, like 3 targets, 1 for 9. Yeah, something's not good. Be a little interesting to figure that out. Audric Estime, 6 for 16 on the ground. That's go along with Javonte Williams, 9 for 59. Jaleel McLaughlin, 4 for 19. And then Courtland Sutton, 8 for 7 for 78. Vele, 5 for 4 for 66. Little Jordan Humphrey, Marvin Mims. And again, this would be another one. This is a red zone target. So like back-to-back weeks with the red zone opportunities for Marvin Mims. And there's Troy Franklin looking at all that stuff going on in the blowout by the Falcons, or the Broncos of the Falcons. Seahawks and 49ers is another one. This was a little bit closer game than I thought it was going to be. And then it looks like right there, 12 seconds left to go in the game. Geno Smith takes it in from 13 yards out, and Seahawks knock off the 49ers. Some teams that we thought were going to be good are going to be bad. That's just how it goes. It goes like that in fantasy, just like real life when it comes down to that. And then Geno Smith, 25 or 32, 221 interception. Kenneth Walker falls in the end zone. Geno Smith falls in the end zone. Jackson Smith and Jigba. And I did talk about this. Like, I think some of what was going on with JSN may have ended up remaining somewhat consistent. 11 for 10 for 110 in this one. And then DK Metcalf back 9 for 7 for 70. AJ Bronner, a little disappointing, 4 for 2 for 15, if you're wondering what I'm looking at. And Brock Purdy, 21 for 28, 159, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Christian McCaffrey, 19 for 78. Juwan Jennings, 11 targets, 10 for 91 and a touchdown. And then 5 targets, 4 for 27. 7 targets for Debo, 4 for 22. Juszczyk, Ricky Pearsall, he's the odd man out right now. And that was with Kittle being out with that hamstring. Chiefs and Bills. And then Josh Allen, he rumbles in late. I'll bring this one up. So he takes a scramble late. There's going to show the play right here. So he takes a scramble, 4th and 2 to ice the game versus looking at what the Jets did against the Colts. They went for it on 4th and 2 in a very similar type of situation, and they iced the game. Now the game's over. They win. Jets kick the field goal. They lose. Again, like I've learned from my coaching perspective that like you got to be a little bit more aggressive if you want to win games. You can't expect other teams to lose. That's what the Bills did. They won. Josh Allen's able to convert that 4th and 2. Jets kick the field goal. They lose. You know, that's a coaching issue, I think. You know, you do you when it comes down to it. Patrick Mahomes, 23 for 33, 196, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Kareem Hunt, 14 for 60. Xavier Worthy, 5 for 4 for 61. He tugs. Noah Gray, he tugs twice on his 5 targets. That's the backup tight end. Little interesting. Travis Kelce right there, 4 for 2 for 8 in this game. And then I did see that DeAndre Hopkins was also disappointing, 4 for 3 for 29. So again, statistically unlikely that the Chiefs were going to be 9-0 in the first place, and then it bites them at the end of the day. When it comes to the Bills, Josh Allen 27 of 40, 262, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. 12 for 55 and a touchdown for Josh Allen. Also, James Cook's 9 for 20, 2 touchdowns. So it doesn't matter. Something like don't care how the sausage is made. Khalil Shakur, 12 for 8 for 70. There's your Curtis Samuel. That would be the guy that I would have been like, yeah, I'm rolling him this week. 6 for 5 for 58, and then I get lucky that he falls in the end zone. Dawson Knox with Dalton Kincaid out 6 for 4 for 40. Probably 40-degree day from a tight end. Amari Cooper, 3 for 2 for 55. Probably not going to be integrated. I could talk about after the bye week that's coming up. And then finally, we got the Chargers and the Bengals to finish this off before the Monday night game. Monday night game is going to be Texans and Cowboys. That's going to be a train wreck. Bengals and the Chargers. And the Chargers jump out early. They were up 24-6 at halftime. Bengals are able to tie it up. And then the Chargers are able to score 29-yard touchdown or 29-yard touchdown rush from J.K. Dobbins with 18 seconds left. The Bengals are actually able to drive into to about the 50-yard line, and then it got knocked down at the goal line, and that's how the game went. Again, some of the teams that are supposed to be good are going to be bad. In this case, I did see statistically the Bengals should be like 7-3, and I guess right now I would also say like they should be like they could be like 8-3 if some of the metrics went the other direction for the Bengals. I did see that. If you're wondering on some of my random quotes on Twitter that I look at sometimes. Joe Burrow, 28 of 50, 356, 3 touchdowns. Chase Brown, 22 for 86. T. Higgins, 13 for 9 for 148, 1 touchdown. Didn't see the stat line. 13 for 7 for 75, 2 touchdowns for Jamar Chase. And then Chase Brown, 7 for 5 for 57 in the passing game. Yosivas, 3 for 3 for 46. It's kind of more what I thought Yosivas was going to be most of the year with some spike weeks. Jermaine Burton, 4 targets, 1 for 8. And I bet this is a lot of air yards also. If you're chasing Mike Gesicki, 2 targets, no receptions in this game. Justin Herbert, 17 for 36, 2 touchdowns, 297. He also did 5 for 65 on the ground. J.K. Dobbins, 11 for 56, 2 touchdowns. Did see early that Gus Edwards was leading the backfield, but I guess by the second half, that's not how the game went. Ladd McConkey, I did roll him out in one of my leagues, and I was like, what's going on in this game? And then he finishes 9 targets, 6 receptions for 123. Will Disley, 6 for 4 for 80 and a touchdown. So again, sometimes when you're wrong, you're wrong. I'm not saying... I was saying that Will Disney's not somebody I'm interested in. Now I'm going to have to watch this and see what's going on. Quentin Johnson does score on his 8 targets. I didn't know that he had 8 targets until I looked at this. 8 for 2 for 48 and a touchdown in this one overall. So anyway, that's about what I got right now for week 11, how the sausage was made. And I'll break the stuff down tomorrow and hopefully get the dragon out, and then same basic time for after waivers for you guys that are out there.